Hello, this is Gary Chartier from the Center for a Stateless Society. Welcome to ATP 101, an introduction to anarchism. This is lecture 4. Our focus today, as we engage with the Tannehills again, is on something that has arguably been at the center of conversations about the importance of the state, at least in the tradition that's been most important in Western political thought over the past 3 centuries. Thomas Hobbes, as you may know, famously argued that we needed an absolute state to preserve social order. Hobbes famously said that in the absence of the state, life would be, his famous phrase, solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. And so Hobbes said, if we want to have social order, if we want to keep people from killing each other, it's pretty vital that we create a structure that will have the ability to prevent all conflicts from occurring when those conflicts might descend into violence. So the state, to the extent that it fulfills this Hobbesian goal, the state will do 2 things. It will mediate conflicts. It will determine who wins in any social conflict. And it will determine how force will be used to deal with a conflict when it occurs. Okay? So these are the kinds of issues that the Tannehills are focusing on in our reading for today. And of course, that focus will continue subsequently in the book. So their concern then is with how people might resolve disputes without the state, because obviously it's crucial that those who oppose the state find a way of explaining how disputes that could turn violent and that could, in any event, lead to simmering resentment and ongoing tension and conflict, how these disputes can be resolved without the state to serve as a final arbiter. Okay? So it's very common among statists to argue that it's vital that the state play this role of final arbiter. That is, that the state step in and definitively decide who's going to be the winner in a given social conflict. So a conflict about who owns this piece of property or how that contract is to be interpreted or what's to be done as a response to this injury caused by the leakage of toxic chemicals into the water table or whatever, okay? So the Tannehills cut the Gordian knot here, and they say, look, of course it's important to have a final arbiter, but why does it have to be the case that the final arbiter be the same arbiter in every instance? Why can't the individual parties to a particular dispute choose whom they will treat as the final arbiter? And the Tannehills go on to note that this is not a recipe for chaos, and it's certainly not a recipe for what I think a lot of people fear most when they think about this kind of dispute resolution, namely a situation in which people, instead of choosing peaceful dispute resolution, will opt for protective agencies to take their sides in these disputes that are inclined to violence. Okay? So instead of agreeing to a peaceful conversation with you about the rights in question in a given dispute, instead I just bring a lot of people with guns. Okay? That's clearly a major concern that people have about how these kinds of things would work in a stateless society. And the Tannehills anticipate a lot of subsequent discussion about these matters because they note that people have very good reasons, they focus on the economic ones, but I think there are others as well, not to choose violent arbitration organizations. Here's a simple reason. Organizations that resolve disputes through violence